Yes, basketball has changed. It's always been a great game, but now it has a new spirit.
He dunks like Dr. J. He might be the new Iceman.
The modern day Wilt Chamberlain.
He looked like Magic Johnson.
The future has arrived.
You are watching what greatness is all about.
Hello again, everyone, and welcome to Vintage NBA. I'm Robin Roberts. Over the next hour, we'll profile the man who was basketball's ultimate winner, Bill Russell. He turned the Boston Celtics into the NBA's greatest dynasty. And along the way, he revolutionized the game by mastering the art of defense. Today, the player most often compared to Russell is the Miami Heat's Alonzo Mourning. Like Bill, he's a tremendous shot blocker, and twice he's been named the NBA's Defensive Player of the Year. It's Zoe in the Chair, which is back with us this week, and he's reflecting on Bill Russell.
Bill Russell will present a special award, the 1999-2000 Defensive Player of the Year Award, to our very own Alonzo Mourning.
I would have never thought in my wildest dreams that I would win this award back to back. Thank you to Mr. Russell.
We go back a long ways. I met him when my old teammate was trying to recruit him when he was in high school in Virginia.
I think the very first time I met him was when I shook his hand. I was in high school. He was a skinny kid in high school. I was at this camp. And that's when Coach Thompson was recruiting me. I think Bill Russell was sitting up there with Patrick and Coach Thompson. And I met him then. I shook his hand then. But when I got to school, was the time I really got to hear some of his thoughts and just to pick his mind. He just talked to me and Dikembe. We was in the gym by ourselves. We was quiet in there. Big John left the gym. It was just me, Dikembe, and Bill Russell. We pulled up some chairs and we just sat there and just started rapping. It's about just different things, man, which was cool, man. He said my best game I've ever had in my career is when I didn't hit one field goal. And that was amazing when he said that. I was like, really? He was like, yeah. He said, but I rebounded, I blocked shots, the intangibles, things that guys really don't want to do to work hard at defense.
And I'm ready to play this guy, and I'm ready to take a shot and try to steal the pass.
A lot of Bill Russell's great effectiveness was because people were so scared that he was going to block their shot and they would look bad that they would miss the shot anyway.
Bill Russell of the Boston Celtics, center and most valuable player of the NBA All-Stars. Bill is a clutch player in every sense of the word. The one who will get you the ball, the rebound, and the basket when you need it.
John Thompson, man, he's a huge supporter of Bill Russell. He played under Bill Russell, you know, and I think that's how he developed his coaching mindset, his center mindset, because he played center and I think that was one of the benefits that we really benefited from just being at Georgetown, Patrick and myself and Dikembe, is because of John Thompson playing under Bill Russell. And he always promoted Bill Russell did this and he did that, you know, so I couldn't help but hear the great things that Bill Russell did.
How many times did John Thompson mention my name in practice? Did you get tired of that?
Yes, I did. I didn't get tired of it. But he mentioned your name quite a bit. I mean, he understood greatness and he wanted us to get to that level.
Blocked by Mourning.
Defense comes naturally for me because I've been taught that way. And it started at a young age and whatever you're introduced to kind of sticks with you.
Sprewell, the pull-up, blocked by Joe.
I just try to work hard and use my game to speak for itself. I'm not trying to intimidate anybody. I mean, if my presence intimidates you and that's an advantage, and so be it. And it's an honor to even be mentioned in the same breath as Bill Russell. You know, a lot of people say, "Oh, you have some similarity to Bill Russell." Man, I wish I had at least one of his rings, though. 11 championships in 13 years, man. I mean, that's amazing. I mean, and that continues to even baffle me to even think somebody has had an opportunity to do that.
Alonzo became the 5th player in NBA history to be named Defensive Player of the Year in consecutive seasons. No doubt Bill Russell would have been on that list, except that the award began in 1983 14 years after he retired. Asked who would have prevailed in a head-to-head matchup, Russell said, "Alonzo would have gotten a shot off, but we would have won." When Bill was on the court, he virtually always won, and we'll look back at his legendary career when we return. Stay with us.
Now, what I got to do now is come in here. Now, that is what is called intimidation.
Part of that reputation is based on psyche. As a player, when you challenge him, you think about the reputation, and you have to automatically change your shot.
Bill Russell, the greatest of them all. He dominated NBA centers for 13 years. Not only that, he intimidated the entire offensive flow of the game.
He's the most dominating player in the sport, Bill Russell.
Bill Russell.
From the time he came to the Celtics in 1956, Bill Russell changed the course of NBA history. He led the Boston teams that won an amazing 11 championships in 13 seasons. And he personified team play, using his defense and shot blocking to trigger the Celtic fast break. For Russell, greatness was never measured by points or rebounds. It was measured by just one thing: winning. And he did it better than anyone else.
Was it important to dominate? Yes.
What a block by Russell!
One thing that you want to do to your opponents is to make them think, make them know they can't win.
For 13 seasons, Bill Russell dominated his opponents both physically and psychologically. He left them demoralized with his uncanny shot blocking. In the process, he revolutionized the center position and brought a new dimension to the game.
Other than his animal intensity that he brought to the game, his speed and quickness in those days, I mean, it was like a man playing with boys.
Everybody was just afraid of Russell, including the guys who were shooting from outside when they wanted to go in and take a layup. They knew they were not going to get a layup, so they would stop short and take a jump shot. I mean, he just intimidated people.
Now, what I got to do now is come in here. Now, that is what is called intimidation.
Part of that reputation is based on psyche. As a player, when you challenge him, you think about the reputation, and you have to automatically change your shot.
Fast break, West all alone. Look at Russell come down. And what a play by Russell!
We shut a guy down or block a guy's shot and say, yes, we did that to you. If you come back, we'll do it again. If you come back again, we'll do it another time. So you'll have to try something else to do. That won't work.
Russell started at the University of San Francisco, where he led the Dons to 2 national titles. He was drafted by the St. Louis Hawks in 1956, but Red Auerbach engineered a trade that brought him to the Boston Celtics.
We primarily made the deal to help this team win. The name of the game is to win. We're not interested in your points or your stats. Just worry, did we win or did we lose? And what can you contribute to winning or losing?
And Russell would immediately help the Celtics win. His all-around skills were just what the team was lacking.
He was the round peg that simply fit the round hole that we needed so desperately, both offensively and defensively. He gave new dimensions to what we were doing out there.
But it wasn't just Bill's talent that was reviving the Celtics. It was also his mindset. The confidence and intensity he brought to every game was rubbing off on the entire team.
He thought he was so good and that we should win every single game that he played in.
I believe he had a neurotic need to be great. I mean, his whole life depended on whether he won or not.
Well, I might say that Russell wants to win this thing so bad he can taste it, and that was a mark of how much he wants to win it.
I decided early in my career, the only really important thing was try to win every game. What do I have to do to make sure that we're going to win? Because I accepted responsibility that I had to make sure that we won.
And he took that responsibility seriously, which was apparent each time he came to the arena.
Russell used to become physically ill before every ball game. If we heard that he wasn't ill that particular night, Red Auerbach would stand up and say, Russ, go into the men's room and throw up, because that was the key, that Russell emotionally was into the ball game, and that's how much he gave of himself to win.
But as Russell tried to lead the Celtics to greatness, there would be one huge obstacle standing in his way, the awesome Wilt Chamberlain. Their matchup developed into one of the fiercest rivalries in the history of any sport.
It was a classic confrontation. The greatest offensive player ever and the greatest defensive player. And the road to the championship always went through those two teams.
Though Wilt had the greater individual stats, it was Russell and the team-oriented Celtics who prevailed as champions.
The desire to win a championship was at a high level, and we maintained that.
It's all over. The Boston Celtics are once again the world champions.
For that one brief moment, you know that you're the best on the planet.
Boston won 9 NBA titles in Russell's first 10 seasons under coach Red Auerbach. But in 1966, Auerbach retired and Bill was named player coach.
What better way to motivate Bill Russell, the player, than Bill Russell, the coach?
I don't anticipate any problems with the guys, because one thing that we've always had in the Celtics is mutual respect. And we think that's the most necessary ingredient for a winning combination.
With Russell taking over double duty, the Celtics extended their championship reign, capturing 2 more NBA titles in the next 3 seasons.
And the Celtics, they have done it again. A spectacular finish.
After his 11th title in 13 years, Russell retired in 1969, leaving behind an unmatched legacy.
There's no question in my mind that I have never, even to this day, seen a better center than Bill Russell.
Russell was the ultimate team player and was part of the team, inbred into the team, woven into the team more than anybody else that I've ever known, ever in any sport whatsoever.
I was really in love with my career, every minute of it. The time I spent in the locker room and on the floor with my teammates, I always say that it was like I couldn't go to heaven because leaving there and going anyplace else was a step down.
Russell's string of championships may never be equaled. Along with 11 in the NBA, there were 2 in college, 3 in high school, and the Olympic gold medal in 1956. He also won 5 MVP awards, and he set new standards for defense and team play. But Russell wasn't defined by basketball alone. He also helped raise awareness of racial issues in the 60s, and we'll have more on that after we look back to his rookie season of 1956. Bill Russell made history in many different ways, and it wasn't always with his achievements on the court. As we check out NBA.com, it says that Bill took over as player coach of the Celtics in 1966, becoming the first African-American coach in the NBA. He was also Boston's first black sports star and was acutely aware of racism. Once, residents tried to stop Russell moving into a white suburb. He also experienced bigotry when his home was vandalized, and his former teammates look back at those days with some regret.
I don't know if we were aware in those days of the racial implications, to being black in those days and trying to function, never mind in our society, but just in sports. I don't think we demonstrated enough support, and I certainly didn't, for us in those circumstances where we'd go into the St. Louis's and we couldn't eat together in a particular restaurant. It wasn't enough to just all of us walk out of that restaurant. I think we had to make more of a statement than that.
As the civil rights movement grew in the 1960s, Bill Russell stepped forward to speak out forcefully against racism.
Russell was a very thoughtful, new breed of athlete. He was very controversial. Very outspoken on the subject of race.
But this whole thing is about people.
Are you saying then that there are white people who will never accept Negro people? Is that what you mean?
Sure, and there are Negro people that will never accept white people.
You know, and the thing is that this thing is all about people. Until you come to grips with the fact that it's got to be people dealing with people.
Russell speaking out about situations, be it racism or other situations that he considered unjust, was just Bill Russell. At that particular time, he had probably as much impact as any of the leaders you could think of in terms of black leadership.
For Russell, the challenge to prove himself on the court as well as off came down to a simple question.
How important is earning respect? It was very important in that there's a difference between being proud and having pride. They may not like you, but they have to respect you. And that's more important. It's far more important to be respected than it is to be liked. At least to me it is. Far more important to be respected than to be liked.
And Bill Russell gained widespread respect not only for his basketball greatness, but his stands on racism. He also changed the face of the NBA in the 60s, along with players like Oscar Robertson and Wilt Chamberlain, as some of the league's first African-American superstars. Now, of course, Russell and Chamberlain also had quite a rivalry on the court in those days, and we'll look back at one of their matchups from the NBA Finals when we return. Bill Russell played on 11 NBA championship teams. Out of all of them, he said the 1964 Celtics were the best because they played the best defense. In '64, the Celtics were shooting for their 6th consecutive title. And in the finals, they faced the San Francisco Warriors, led by Russell's familiar foe, Wilt Chamberlain. So let's head way back into the Airwave archive and join Marty Glickman and Fred Schaus at the Cow Palace in San Francisco.
Okay, here we go. 44-40. San Francisco leading Boston. Second half. Boston leading in games, 2-1. San Francisco ball. That's Gary Phillips with it. And now Thomas Sherry shooting. 46-40. Sam Jones takes it back, guarded by Phillips. Over to Tommy Heinsohn, guarded by Thurmond. That's Tom Sanders, guarded by Masherry, and Bill Russell. Heinsohn hooking. Rebound to Gary Phillips. Masherry handing off to Phillips. That's Thurmond, number 42. Masherry again, 14. Foul being called underneath. Wilt Chamberlain going to the foul line.
Second personal call on Bill Russell.
Bill Russell called for pushing. His second personal foul. On the line is Wilt Chamberlain, big number 13. He missed it. Never went over the rim of the basket in its arc. Heinsohn driving. Rebound by Sanders. 46-42. Boston trailing by 4. Their biggest deficit in the first half was 10. They trailed by 4 at halftime. Gary Phillips guarded by Sam Jones. Tom Masherry guarded by Sanders. Into Chamberlain, he's deep. And he dips it. 48-42 San Francisco. This big crowd roaring with every San Francisco bucket. Russell is deep. And he scores. 48-44. Both ball clubs matching baskets thus far here at the start of the second half. A minute and 45 seconds gone in the second half. Rogers, number 5, with it. Taken off by Tom Sanders. The ball deflected by Tom Heinsohn. Sanders all the way. Pretty play by Sanders. 48-46. The San Francisco lead had been 10. This is the closest Boston has been since the opening of the ball game. Phillips driving. Blocked by Russell. Chamberlain with the rebound. The basket is good. He was fouled in the act of shooting.
50-46, San Francisco.
Third personal on Bill Russell. Third personal, Bill Russell.
Russell's third personal foul.
Team foul, Boston. Wilt Chamberlain for 1 shot.
Chamberlain missed again. Chamberlain is 0 for 4 from the foul line. He has 14 points. Pushing foul called against the Warriors. That's Sam Jones on the line.
Personal foul on Guy Rogers. First team.
Guy Rogers committed the foul.
1 shot.
That's Rogers' second personal foul. And the foul shot by Sam Jones makes it 50-47 San Francisco, and the Warriors have the ball. Rogers driving. Rebound to Russell. Fast break for the Celts. Sanders shoots. Rebound to Heinsohn. He's deep. Blocked by Thurman. Taken off by Chamberlain. San Francisco with the ball, leading by 3. 3 minutes are gone in the third quarter. Sherry shoots, blocked by Sanders, knocked out of bounds by Sanders.
You know, Marty, Sanders has done a real good job on Masheri all night long. He really has been working on him because Masheri had 17 points in that first quarter of Wednesday night.
There's Chamberlain, he's deep. Let's see what the call is. No basket, a 3-second violation. A 3-second violation, the basket is disallowed.
3-second violation.
50-47. Boston trailing by 3. Boston has the ball. There's Russell. Back out to Casey Jones. Heinsohn has it, number 15. Rebound at Chamberlain. 8.5 minutes to go in the third quarter. Boston trailing by 3. San Francisco with the ball. Chamberlain has it. Out to Rogers. Rebound to Russell. That's Sam Jones taking it back. There's his shot. It's still 50-47. San Francisco leading. The Warriors have the ball. 4 minutes gone in the third quarter. Rogers shoots. Chamberlain with the rebound. Puck. Russell had his hands on the ball, but Chamberlain forced it through. A remarkable shot on a fine defensive play. Shot by Tommy Heinsohn. It was partially deflected by Thurman. 52-47. Chamberlain, walking violation. I noticed you were shaking your head, Freddie Schaus, when Russell partially blocked the shot and Chamberlain forced it through.
He's just so powerful, Marty. We have our own Gene Wiley that's done that several times where Chamberlain is just so powerful. He just comes right down and forces the ball through.
Sam Jones scoring to make it 52-49. San Francisco leading by 3. The Warriors have the ball. 7:15 to go in the third quarter. Shot by Phillips. Rebound to Russell. Sam Jones shoots. 52-51. And now the Warriors are calling for a timeout. This is Marty Glickman with Fred Schaus at the Cow Palace in San Francisco. That tells the story in the third quarter. 6:55 to go in the period. And Boston, having trailed by as many as 10, has cut that deficit to 1 point. Boston guarding all over the floor, as you see, an all-court press. Guy Rogers, a brilliant dribbler and ball handler, though, brings it in. Casey Jones guarding him. There's Masheri shooting. Rebound to Thurman. Blocked by Russell. Taken off by Jones. Sam Jones. That's Casey Jones with it. Heinsohn laying it up. The basket is good. And he was fouled in the act of shooting after the first time. Boston goes ahead. 53-52.
That year, the Celtics were a team in transition. Bob Cousy had retired the previous season, and Casey Jones moved in at point guard. And a young player named John Havlicek was starting to make an impact. But as always, the mainstay was Bill Russell, who led the league in rebounding with 25 boards per game. Now, even more impressive when you consider the rebounding leader in 2000 averaged 14 per game. We'll have more in a moment, right after we take you back to 1964. Enjoy. For nearly a decade, Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain went head-to-head in an epic rivalry. It spanned Wilt's days with the Warriors, Sixers, and Lakers, but Bill usually prevailed, winning 7 of their 8 matchups in the playoffs. Their first meeting in the NBA Finals came in 1964, and it's Russell's Celtics leading Chamberlain's Warriors by 6 as we pick up the closing minutes of Game 4.
On the line is Guy Rogers. The Celtics are over the limit now. They're 7th.
Guy Rogers on the line, shooting 1 and 1 penalty.
1 and 1. Personal and a penalty. With Boston leading by 6, 92-86. 2:43 to go.
Penalty shot.
Here's the penalty shot. .87. Boston by 5. That's Sam Jones with it. Jones shooting. Rebound to Masheri. 2:25 to go. Rogers missing. Rebound in. The rebound by Chamberlain. 92-89. 2:15 to go. That's Havlicek with it. Crowd on his feet. Foul being called. Foul called against the Warriors. John Havlicek going to the line. Gary Phillips committing his 5th personal foul. 92-89. That's the limit of personals now for San Francisco. Havlicek grabs it. Over to Russell. 2 minutes to go in the game. 2 minutes. Boston by 3. As Hanson hooking. Taken off by Chamberlain. 92-89. That's Guy Rogers. Rebound to Russell, and a foul is called. Boston is over the limit. He has 3 attempts to make 2. A minute and 45 seconds to go. A tremendous comeback by San Francisco. They trail by 12, and just as Boston came from 10 points down, San Francisco has come from behind also. Now they trail by 3. 3 attempts now for Guy Rogers to make 2 shots. And Boston leading 92-89 with 1:45 to go in the game. The decision of the first 3 games was decided early. Boston jumping out to substantial leads by halftime in the first 2 games. San Francisco to a substantial lead at halftime in the 3rd game. But now they're going right down to the finish. 105 seconds remaining in this game. Guy Rogers on the line.
Guy Rogers shooting 3 for 2.
3 attempts to make 2. Rogers with 20 points thus far in the game. 16 of them scored in the second half. 92-90. Boston leading by 1 point. That's Havlicek with it. Heinsohn, Havlicek again. Havlicek shoots. Rebound to Russell. Havlicek shooting again. 94-91. Boston by 3, 1:25 to go. And the Warriors call for a timeout. There are people standing in front of me now, and I can only see the ball game through the monitor, through the same TV set that you're looking at it. That's Guy Rogers with it. 1 minute and 15 seconds to go. Rogers shooting. Let's see what the call is here. It's Boston ball. 1 minute and 11 seconds to go. San Francisco guarding all over the floor. Havlicek with the ball. 1 minute to go. 1 minute. Heinsohn shooting. No, he passed off to Russell, who dunked it. A marvelous play by Tommy Heinsohn to Bill Russell. 96-91, Boston leading. Phillips shoots. 96-93. 45 seconds to go. Boston by 3. Sam Jones with it. 35 seconds. Frank Ramsey has it. There's his shot. Rebound to Chamberlain. 25 seconds. Rogers all the way. 96-95. 21 seconds to go. Havlicek fouled in the act of shooting. He'll take 2. Gary Phillips fouling Johnny Havlicek. 18 seconds to go. Boston leading by 1 point. 96-95. Gary Phillips comes out of the game, and San Francisco has just committed its 7th team foul in the 4th quarter, meaning that Johnny Havlicek has 3 attempts to make 2. 18 seconds to go. 96-95, Boston over San Francisco, in certainly the most wildly exciting basketball game of all the playoff games in the 1963-1964 playoff series of the National Basketball Association. What a ball game. Both teams have shown tremendous spirit. Here comes Havlicek. He makes the first. 97-95. He has 2 attempts now to make 1. 18 seconds to go. And now Boston calls for a timeout. It's 97-95 right now with 18 seconds to go. John Havlicek, 6'5", an All-American at Ohio State. It drops. 98-95. And now the San Francisco Warriors call for a timeout. George Lee has come into the lineup, replacing Gary Phillips, who fouled out. He scored 10 points. 98-95, Boston by 3. And the Warriors will call timeout to put the ball in play at midcourt. That's George Lee, number 9. Masheri hooking. Eight seconds. 5 seconds. And with 3 seconds to go, a foul is called on Nate Thurmond. And Bill Russell will go to the line. Nate Thurmond. 3 seconds to go. 98-95 Boston. Bill Russell has 1 and 1. A personal and a penalty as San Francisco is over the limit. Russell on the line. Steadying. It was short. It was short. 3 seconds to go in the ball game. Here come the Warriors quickly. 1 second. It's all over. The ball game is over, and the Boston Celtics have won it. They now lead 3 games to 1. That's the end of the game with the final score. Boston 98, San Francisco 95. Down on the floor, Red Auerbach has only just now lighted his victory cigar. Freddie Schaus and Red Auerbach.
I thought very definitely, Red, that your press kept that ball away from Chamberlain, too, and I think you accomplished the purpose of it, and it was just really turned the tide of the ball game completely.
Well, I think that they called a couple of, a little bit this, they called a couple of tough ones on Russell.
That's right.
I really mean it. What the heck, he played with, he had 5 fouls, and Chamberlain didn't have any.
Well, now you go back to Boston Sunday night for the 5th ball game. You're in a real good spot, I would say, now, having 2 and the remaining 3 at home if necessary, and leading 3-1.
I feel better when it's over, I'll tell you.
The ever-diplomatic Red Auerbach refused to criticize the refs, and the Celtics went on to beat the Warriors in Game 5 for their 6th consecutive title, something no team had ever done in pro sports. But even then, Bill Russell was never satisfied. He maintained his fierce desire to win year after year, and winning gave him a special feeling, a feeling that sometimes was hard to put into words.
The knowledge that we were the best basketball team in the world. That's exciting. That is, I don't know how to describe it, but it's fun.
Jack Kent Cooke put out a sheet in all the seats. When the Lakers win the championship, the USC band would play in order, Happy Days Are Here Again. The balloons in the rafters would fall down. And I think there was some impetus that they gave us.
That Lakers celebration was planned for right after Game 7 of the '69 finals. And once the Celtics heard about it, they were determined to spoil the party. They had already beaten LA 5 times in the finals, but by 1969, the Celtics were an aging team, while the Lakers had superstars like Jerry West, Elgin Baylor, and Wilt Chamberlain. Still, it came down to Game 7, and the Celtics lead in the closing seconds as we join the game literally in progress with Chris Schenkel and Jack Twyman.
Now it's a 5-point lead with 22 seconds to go. It's stolen by John Havlicek, and he can nearly run out the clock. Over to Bill Russell. Intentional foul by Johnny Egan. 15 seconds to go. Boston by 5. Fourth foul on Johnny Egan. And many of the Los Angeles fans are beginning to leave the forum. Of bitter disappointment thus far for Jack Kent Cooke, the owner, general manager Fred Schaus, and majority of the 17,560 fans. 12 seconds to go. Trail by 6 is Egan. Tries the shot. Baylor on the rebound. Is fouled. So Don Nelson has 5. And going to the foul line is Captain Elgin Baylor, who may be playing his last game. 18 points in this final tonight. Now it's 108 to 103 with 7 seconds left on the clock. .108 to 104, a 4-point lead by Boston. 7 seconds. A press by Los Angeles. And Bill Russell decides that he'll talk it over with the players. So there is Sam Jones, who fouled out the 6 personals, and his slack was taken up just enough. But their big lead was erased as we look at John Havlicek. Havlicek getting it to Bailey Howell, and now counting off the seconds. 4, 3. It's a let him scored. And time has run out, and the Boston Celtics have done it again. Another jewel in that crown. 108 to 106. A 2-point victory by Boston. And there you see Don Nelson. Here comes Bailey Howell. Now Tom Sanders, who did not get in the lineup. Keith Erickson of Los Angeles. A disappointed Wilt Chamberlain, brought here by Jack Kent Cooke in hopes of bringing the first title in 9 years to Los Angeles. And of course, you'll have to say that the Celtics, the greatest sports dynasty in the history of professional athletics. Well, there you see Jack Waldron, the executives of the company that own the Celtics. Here is Jack.
Chris, I'm here with Bill Russell. Bill, this must have been a great win for you.
Jack,
I know it's hard to say what's in your mind right now, Bill, and it must have been a great win.
Well, this is such a great bunch of guys, you know, and it's just been so fabulous the way they played for me. And it sounds all corny, you know, to start talking like that, but I told these guys before the game, I don't care what happens, I wouldn't trade you guys for any guys in the world.
That was fairly obvious, but the leadership has to come from you, Bill, and to bring a team from 4th place during the regular season to the world's title, the 11th title in 13 years, you've got the respect of everybody in the country.
Well, Jack, it's my guys. It's just my guys. These guys play ball for me, and like, they're such a great bunch of guys. I just can't say enough about the guys.
And with that, Bill Russell closed the books on his career and the Celtics' incredible run. Russell announced his retirement after the 1969 season. He remains the 2nd leading rebounder in NBA history with nearly 22,000 boards. Bill also blocked thousands of shots. Just how many? We'll never know because they didn't keep track in those days. But we have kept track of some other great shot blockers, and you'll see them when we return in just a moment. There seems little doubt that Bill Russell was the game's greatest shot blocker. It's just there are no official numbers to back it up because the NBA didn't keep blocked shots as an official stat until 1973. But Russell showed just how effective a weapon the block could be. And since then, there have been some others who left their opponents, well, let's say, feeling rejected. Playing in the era of Russell and Chamberlain, Nate Thurman was sometimes overlooked, but he was one of the game's toughest defenders and even had the NBA's first quadruple-double, 22 points, 14 rebounds, 13 assists, and 12 blocked shots. 7'2" Artis Gilmore intimidated anyone who dared bring the ball into the paint. He was a star center in both the ABA and the NBA, and during his days with the Bulls, he was among the league leaders in blocked shots. Next, a tree grows in Atlanta. Tree Rollins had his best years with the Hawks and was one of the premier defensive centers in the game. He swatted away over 2,500 shots, placing him 5th on the NBA's all-time list. Mark Eaton held his own block party for many years in Utah. The 7'4" center was twice named the NBA Defensive Player of the Year. He led the league in block shots 4 times and 1 year averaged a record 5.5 rejections per game. And finally, opponents were turned away by the long arm of Manute Bol. At 7'7", Manute was one of the tallest players ever, and twice he blocked 15 shots in a game. Today, there are some others who are reminiscent of Russell.
Nowadays, you have to go with Alonzo Mourning, a guy whose presence is not only effective on the offensive end, but on the defensive end as well by altering shots, blocking shots.
Both of them are defensive players first, and they try to carry their team through their defense. So I would definitely have to look at Mourning and say those two are almost identical.
You got to look at a guy like Marcus Camby, who's capable of getting like 6 to 8 blocks within a game.
But honestly, I have to say right now, Shaquille O'Neal is definitely one of the most intimidating players on the court that's dominating on defense.
To me, Dikembe Mutombo is definitely one of the greatest defenders that I've played against in my era, that I've seen. Before we play him, everybody wants to try to get a dunk on him, so you know he's a good defender. He's probably the toughest defender to me in the game.
If you want to talk about defense, shot blocking, or Bill Russell himself, just send us an email at nba.com. And as we dip into the email bag, we have a question from our recent show on Calvin Murphy. Billy from Arizona wants to know whether anyone ever broke Calvin's record for free throw percentage in a season. Good question, but the answer is no. The record still stands. Calvin shot 96% in the 1981 season. Thanks for the question. We'll be right back. Today, Bill Russell's number 6 jersey hangs in the rafters of Boston's Fleet Center. And in 1999, some of the biggest names in sports and entertainment turned out for a night in Bill's honor, including his old rival, the late Wilt Chamberlain, who wistfully pointed out that Russell has 11 rings and only 10 fingers. Perhaps the ultimate praise came from his former coach, Red Auerbach, who said Bill Russell is simply the greatest winner ever to play the game. Well, that will do it for this week and this season as well. We thank you for joining us all season and hope you had some fun along with us here on Vintage NBA. I'm Robin Roberts. Take care, everyone.
Well, Bill set the standard so high. When I first came to Boston, I knew it was set so high that, you know, if you put on a Celtics uniform and you did not win a championship, you have no game.
I wasn't there for Cain and Abel. I wasn't there for Samson and Delilah, but I was there for Russell versus Chamberlain. What I wanted to thank you for is letting me come into your life.